I try to discover a little something that makes me sweeter. Oh, baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give me no reason why you're making me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little respect to me. And if I should falter, would you open your arms out to me? We can make love, not war, and live in peace in our hearts. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. What religion or reason could drive a man to forsake his lover? Don't you tell me no, 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 so I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little respect to me. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. What religion or reason could drive a man to forsake his lover? Don't you tell me no, 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 so I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little respect to soul. I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little respect to me.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Jordan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm so glad you look so nice. I'm so glad that you came to hang out with us today in the Rotten Kingdom. Yep. So to all of my friends who don't know you, Jordan and I have known each other for a little while now on YouTube. Jordan has a really amazing channel where he shares the stories of the people who have gone through the troubled teen industry or even government programs for recovery and things like that. So I'm going to grab that link and throw that out and encourage everybody to go subscribe and support you. I think you're amazing. What you're doing, not to mention, you're one of the only few. you know?
Yeah, there's not many people doing this, so yeah. It's not really easy. It's not exactly easy work, so.
I would say so. So while I'm grabbing that link, go ahead and introduce yourself. We're not necessarily going to talk about troubled teen industry per a topic, but I wanted you to give a chance to kind of talk about what you do over there, what your mission is, and and give everybody an intro.
Okay, sure. So I went to one of these programs called Spring Creek Lodge Academy, and I was there for 22 months, and it traumatized me in a lot of ways. And so, long story short, I got into hard drugs, and then when I got clean off hard drugs, I was kind of looking for not necessarily directly looking for purpose, I needed a purpose to stay sober or whatnot, but I was just I kind of want to really give back. So I was like looking around and I was like, there are podcasts about like these programs, but they're usually like, they tend to be about one school in particular. And I was like, well, honestly, I feel like I should just make a podcast encompassing all of them, including the religious schools, the wilderness schools, because all of that stuff is linked, even like congregate care settings and like the foster care system. There's a lot of abuse that happens there. So I was just like, I thought about creating the channel, and then I was like, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And so I just decided to act on it. And
Excellent.
so I interview people from all different schools about what they went through, and we get pretty deep on each episode. So
yes, you do. And people feel free to share their stories there.
Yeah.
Without judgment, or, I've had an experience myself. So even though mine wasn't in an extreme way, such as some of the ones I've heard, I certainly know about the industry. And so, I've had a little dabbling in there. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So yes, please, big up, support this young man. He's doing great. Well, young. You're young to us, young man.
Yeah.
But excellent. So I shared out your link. I do have the videos that you sent me. If we need, a reference, or we get to a point where we want to discuss something, I have them queued up and ready to go.
All right, cool.
So yeah. I've done my part. So Jordan, it's been a while since we've hung out. I know Zen is in here. Hello, Jerry came in at number 1. Let's all do our roll call. Jerry's number 1. And then Zen took the 2nd place today. And Charming comes in at 3rd. Duck, you made it in the top 5. You're number 4. And that's all we've got so far. The other 5 people are being shy.
So. All right, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. So, what's been going on? What kind of things are keeping you up at night? What have you been interested in lately?
I've been like kind of going into like some rabbit holes about like conservatorships and just like just conservatorships and like new age like slavery, like I like to call it. Like it's just because that's essentially what it is. Like there are cases, don't get me wrong, where I feel like conservatorship, like in the case of like if somebody's like really old and they have dementia and they actually cannot handle their finances, then maybe they shouldn't be having full control of their finances.
So for dummies like me, give me exactly what. Now the first thing that pops into mind as an example, say Britney Spears. So define what a conservatorship is and how these can be used negatively. So we already know that there's a good side to them, but let's focus on how they're manipulated.
Okay.
So what is a conservatorship? What does that mean exactly?
Okay, so I don't know like the actual definition of it, but from what I understand, a conservatorship is like essentially where they either you're actually somebody that needs one, or they take certain steps to deem you incapable of making your own decisions, incapable of managing your own finances. For a lot of famous people, they try and get conservatorships over, like they will catch them, like they will spin it a certain way to make it look a certain way, and only show certain footage. There's Bam Margera was a good example of this. They tried to give him a conservatorship, and he was bounced in and out of a bunch of different rehab programs. Because he was in Florida for a long time, and he was actually caught. They actually have a name for it called the Florida Shuffle, where they literally shuffle people in and out of different rehabs, and then they come up like when they've been there for the like, because you can only be there at rehab for so long, then they will find a reason or create a reason to keep them in there or send them to another place and just keep them in this cycle. And they keep them medicated, and it's just very similar to the kind of like brainwashing and like mind control that they used in like programs. But they're essentially trying to take people's like autonomy and rights away, by deeming them incapable of making decisions for themselves.
Now, how I see this playing out. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your.
I was just gonna say. Okay, I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm so sorry.
Well,
what
no, you're fine.
Jordan, was the, some of the laws that are coming into place, especially with people that are on medications, that if, in our conspiracy world, if the daddy upstairs says I have to be on my medication, and I don't want to take it because in order to be on it, I must participate in, I don't know, some kind of experiment. They could then say, well, you must be on it. So you really don't have a choice. Would that not be in the same playground?
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Suzanne says conservativeship is this is why I love the Rotten Kingdom, because they know the answers so much better. They can say them so eloquently. So, conservativeship is a legal status in which a court appoints a person to manage the financial and personal affairs of a minor or an incapacitated person. Mm-hmm.
And usually for these famous people, it all comes down to money. I mean, almost everything comes down to money. I mean, it's just greed and that kind of stuff. And it's like when famous people, they see a lot of money. Oh, well, how can we like spin this situation so we can get paid and make them look crazy so they can't use their money or whatever they're trying to have so they can't do. I mean, in Britney Spears' case, she couldn't do a lot of things. There was a lot of things she couldn't do.
Now, this also makes me think of some of the videos that I've been seeing as narcissism is getting talked a lot about lately. I've been seeing more videos coming out where they're showing the narcissist triggering and egging on and then pulling out their phone to record.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also had an experience with that. My ex was trying to convince everyone that I was the one that was wrong in the head. And I had a very similar experience to that. So the topics I have aren't because I haven't been in.
Yeah.
I've had to learn them the hard way, sadly enough. But I had an experience with that too, of them, crazy making, I think they call it, in narcissistic abuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really easy to just like only show certain parts of like they're like, oh, let me see the footage. Okay, we'll only show you certain parts. There's certain parts that correlate with what they're trying to sell to you. The version of the story they're trying to sell to you. And it's just so easy to do that nowadays that it's scary.
Yeah, and the amount of ties in their closet seem to give them more credit.
Yeah, exactly. And if they have some sort of status, exactly.
Yeah. That's what's my experience. Base mind control, Sen, is spot on. So what have you been learning about conservationships? Now that we know about them, what are you seeing happening that has you concerned lately?
I feel like it's just because if it can happen to a famous person, it's just like it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody, I feel like.
I feel like it happens to more people before it happens to a famous person. I
feel like that's like the tipping point where like, yeah, it's for sure. Like it can definitely happen to anybody now.
Yeah. Like, by the time yeah, that's true.
Like I've heard stories about like parents just like wanting to control their child, so they try and get a conservatorship over them because they just can't let go of that being a mother, or can't let go of that being a father. I know a few people like that, that have families like that, where their family just wants so bad to control them that when the kid says no, they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to get a conservatorship over you.
Right. I'll just tell everyone crazy. It's you.
And it's really easy to make a kid look crazy because a lot of the time the kid doesn't know or can't speak up for themselves. Or doesn't know.
Well, not only that, but a teenager is crazy. They're irrational. They have no normal thinking. They're learning their world is flipping and changing. And so many things are happening in their body and in their mind that normal behaviors are seen as problematic.
Yeah, just like regular teenage behaviors is looked at like really harshly.
Yeah, I think I was listening to a woman you were interviewing, and she was saying many have said these kinds of things as well, but it was just recently. She said she had what she caught with cigarettes. She said, I never even had it. I was never even bad, like up until this one thing. And then that parent decided either they overreact because they're a protective parent, or they they overreact because they take it as an opportunity to nail you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And in a lot of these situations, I'm kind of curious to, like, if, like, when people are in court for, like, and they get to the decision, because in a lot of these boarding schools, they either get the decision, you can either go to jail or you can go to this boarding school and complete it. And for most people, they're like, oh, well, I'd rather go to the boarding school because it sounds like the lesser of two evils, when actually in reality, it's like way worse than jail would have been. Like, jail would have been like an easy ride compared to that.
Well, at least
I wonder if they throw conservatorship in there as an option sometimes, or if they try and push for that in some of these situations.
It gives them a lot more control.
Yeah.
Zen wants to know if you've found a connection to child trafficking. Hello, Retro.
Right. Actually, yes, I have. Within the troubled teen industry, I'm assuming you're referring to. Yeah, there are not full on, like there isn't like evidence like of it actually fully happening, but I've heard from a lot of people that have said things that point towards that, like certain actions that they do that is not directly trafficking, but is stuff that would lead up to trafficking, like grooming, taking, like a lot of the teenagers in a lot of these schools get groomed by a lot of the staff members. And I don't want to give away too much information. I'm just not going to say names, but some of them end up going with these staff members. I've heard of people actually getting married to these staff members. They end up having kids with them. And God knows what happens to those kids. And sometimes, they get pushed into trafficking later on down the line. So, I mean, not directly from the boarding schools themselves, but usually afterwards through grooming and stuff like that.
Typically, trauma, if it's not dealt with, leads to potentially more trauma. So,
well, yeah, and they get trauma bonded.
Yes, that's it. That's the term. So even if I might not have ever become a sex worker, let's just say, my experience here threw me into that realm, and here I am now.
Exactly.
And everybody already thinks I'm a dirtbag anyway. So what difference does it make? Yeah. One of the things, so do you mind if I share a little personal story?
Yeah. Can I touch on one more
Please
point?
do. I didn't really want to share it anyway. I just was going with the flow. Yes, go.
Okay. Also, another point I wanted to say to Zen's question is they also have a lot of these schools that are outside the U.S. And I wouldn't, I've heard so many horror stories from those schools. I think they might be a full-on front for trafficking in like outside the U.S. There's a lot of these really really dark stuff happens over there. And they have a hatred for Americans a lot of the time. And so I've heard of a lot of people getting caught up in sexual exploitation, trafficking, stuff like that outside the U.S. Because there's no child protection laws. There's no nothing. You can't. And for a lot of these kids, like they end up being in these other countries for so long that in the program that by the time they get out, when they try and come back to the U.S., they're no longer deemed citizens. So they have to do the whole process of applying again.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, and they get used to the culture maybe, and they're also peer group now.
Yeah.
And how would a parent even really know where they are? I mean, just because you have anything. Yeah, they could be lying about the map unless you go there. And even if you do go there, is that where your kids go? Because I know of programs that move the children other places. I've even heard
shuffle them around. They shuffle them around. If one place like gets a lawsuit or something, or if the heat starts coming down on them, then they will shuffle a lot of the kids to another program and be like, "Oh, it's not happening here."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or they change the name, new ownership. We don't spit in your food. It's a new owner.
To answer Zen's question about if it's happening with immigrant children, yeah, I hear a lot of immigrant children being put into these schools. A lot of them
brought over here to America from another country to be revolutionized.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that. I guess I'd never thought about that being the case. Of course, silly me.
It's always crazy when you start digging into these topics. So like it always goes so much deeper than you even think it would go, you know?
Yeah, of course.
It's crazy. But I feel like that's why it's even more important to like bring awareness to things like this.
You're on the forefront. You are a pioneer. So that's another reason why I really want to support you. And you seem to have a good heart. I don't think fame would change you. And we have some friends in here who suddenly become famous as well throughout all of these last few years. And it's, you know, when you're a core person, you're a core person. And so I would very much love to throw you out there and get a lot more attention on the topics, because you're a different person. You know, I can see all the movies I want, donate all the money I want, but you're there talking, interviewing people coming out of these places, talking to the people that are experiencing these, not the political people who are telling you crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pioneer
Exactly.
you are.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to touch on so there is a movie or a series coming out on Netflix starting March 5th. It's called The Program, I believe, and it's going to be about so supposedly it's going. I'm really hoping that they don't like flip the script at the very end and like say we're going to do it this way, and then at the very end they like, okay, we're not going to add this. Because the last few movies that have come out about these programs, they've gotten to spin like, oh, it's just dramedy about, you know, being at a boarding school. It's like, no, it's not. This isn't a dramedy. This is like real life. This is like trauma. Like that's what it is. So don't try and act like it's hell camp or whatever you want to call it. It's not a camp. This isn't anything. It's not a game. So
don't you think it's different what you're doing, because you're not what they're doing? Well, I don't know what they're doing, but interviewing children that are going through it at the time is completely different than interviewing somebody who's 30 years down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely. And I mean, like, so there's going to be a new series about Academy at Ivy Ridge is the school that it's going to focus on. And I know a few of the people that are actually involved in it. And I'm really hoping that ends up opening people's eyes.
Documentary.
Yeah, it's like a documentary short series. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but keep your eye out for that. Just wanted to give a shout out to that. I'm hoping that it blows the top off of this and people start being like, oh, wow, it actually does happen here in the United States.
Is there a preview for it? Can I go search for it and then share the preview? What's it called?
I believe it's called The Program on Netflix. Let me.
Oh, yeah, I see a trailer. Let me see if this. No, that's not it.
But it says right there on it, like cults and something else. So it addresses like right off there that it's a cult. So that gives me hope.
Right. Let's see. Oh, I'm not having much luck. It's given me that, but it's all old stuff. It's a different program. So.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. But you were going to say something while I'm looking that up?
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, well, one of the things I was going to say earlier, and I won't share as much as I was going to at that moment. So, but I was put in a private school because I was a troublemaker, supposedly. Okay. And the funny thing, what I learned there was, you know, when that's your parents' route. So this was my parents' route. And the problem is that everyone that was at that private school was also had parents who put their seemingly troubled kids into a private school, which meant that half the school that was there were all troublemakers. That was where I met the majority of my high school peer group, you know, and now we're from all different areas, which means that we just spread out, you know, it gives you a much broader peer group to be in. So that was my experience. We all sat around one day by the rock. That's what we called it. And we were like, you know, if our parents only knew.
Yeah. Where was this place?
It was just a local private school in the in where I lived.
Did you? Oh, so okay. So was it like an actual boarding school? Because I feel like people get the term boarding school completely confused. Because what we went to is not a boarding school. Like,
no, this wasn't even like that. It wasn't even a boarding school. It was just it's where parents that have enough money could send their kids there.
Okay, so like
they got in trouble, and so. Yeah, my overshare that I'm going to do here for a moment. So close your ears if this will bother you. But I had left home at a young age and was living elsewhere. And on my way to work, I was abducted and taken for a ride for a few hours. This is where one of my near-death experiences happened. And so it was after a couple of days, I ended up in, I had gone to school and, a teacher clearly could see that I was not right in the head. And so, so then I ended up in the hospital and I was put into a center that way. And then from there, I go home now. I have to go home. Now I left home for a reason. And so this was my parents' answer for that problem. So I cannot share the same experience as you and others in most ways, but I can when I think about how I was treated, how it felt. I felt like I was going back. I had to really change my brain in a young age to accept this new problem that's now, and I left home again and I ended up back again after another near-death experience with something else. And so, yeah, that was a very wild, 2 or 3 years of my life. I did end up graduating from that private school because I did go back there to finish my studies independently so I could get out of school and get on my way.
Did they have like a uniform and stuff there you had to wear?
No, not at ours. There was others. Ours was kind of a bootleg country bumpkin type Christian school, type program where you still worked on your own, but you were part of a building, so it was.
Did you sleep there?
No.
Okay.
Home. No, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was fine. We played basketball and I was a cheerleader and, it was all great, old good time. But it was that knowing, like I said, I remember specifically because I've always been a thinker and we're all at the Rock and I'm just looking around at all my friends. I got one that's, a Satanist worshiper, clear as day, he's there because his parents are worried about him. And there's another girl that's there because she got pregnant and, or was caught with a pregnancy test and she went pregnant. Everybody was there for some silly, stupid overreaction of a parent to a typical, normal teenage. So I'm in that bottom low drawer there. You guys really got the gauntlet. So, I can, like I said, I can't have full relation, but I am familiar. And then, in other parts of my life, I dove in. I got to spend time with women that were in like drug rehab centers and things like that. And to hear these women tell their stories, I was blown away. Even going through a friend of mine who's gone through the VA to get health and that's a veterans. The way she was treated, it's everywhere, Jordan. Mm-hmm. It's from every level to every dimension on different degrees, but it's all the same book. They're all working out of the same system. And so to me, it's more important that we recognize the similarities so that together we can fight instead of me going, somebody, well, you didn't really have that or, well, you didn't have this,
comparing stories.
Yeah. So, that's the big thing there. So I think it's good that, people do meet that have completely different experiences because it's the same experience. They're working off of. Now, I just got lucky. I got lucky that my parents had this place that was passing out pamphlets instead of somewhere else. That's the only difference. The school gave my parents, the area gave the church, whatever, they give my parents this pamphlet and your parents got a different pamphlet. that's the luck of the draw there.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
But it's still being advertised,
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah.
Yep. Yep. And it all, there's so many connections to a lot of these places, exactly like you said. And people just, I feel like there's a lot of comparing of stories within the survivor community. And I try my best to stay out of that.
Yeah.
They can also become a little bit cliquey because there are people that believe that their experience was worse than everybody else's. And so they'll, they will click up. I see that in the survivor community. It's really too bad because we don't need that. We just need to realize that we've all been through trauma. That's all that matters. We went through some deep trauma, and we all need to just come together and fight against this. We need to not go for anything in the world. We all just need to come together and just like realize that we're all human, and just realize if we want to survive on this planet, we have to start working together and just realize like, judge by the content of the character, not by I can't remember the exact quote.
Yeah, I know it. Well,
yeah.
I say don't judge, don't go by the name on the door, go by what's taught in the door.
Yeah.
You know, because the behaviors of people, scream volumes. Exactly. I mean, even in my situation, that guy, he was a minister, probably failed at a church, and this was his way of having a congregation. He started a school, and we all had to sit there for 3 hours. So he gave us a sermon every Tuesday, Thursday. You know what I mean? So it was same thing, same person that just wants control, just wrapped up with a different tie. That's all. So that's good. Okay, so this show is going, and now I imagine that you'll talk about that. I'll grab that, share that with my peeps as well. Mm-hmm. And so what other kind of things have got you?
Are you familiar with the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case?
I am not. I don't believe. So feel free.
Okay, so Gypsy Rose Blanchard was this there was this kid that grew up, and her mom was like essentially she had Munchausen by proxy, I believe it's called, where she would constantly take her daughter to
maybe that is why it sounds familiar. Yes, this might be the case I'm familiar with then. Yes, go ahead, keep talking.
Took her to different doctors and would say, oh, I know she has this. And then if the doctor would be like, oh no, I don't think she has that, she would say, no, you're crazy. And then she'd go to a different doctor until the doctor would give her daughter the diagnosis. So in her entire life, she grew up like this, with her mother just telling her that she had all these problems and getting all of these like doctors to sign off that she had these problems. And she ended up killing her mom. And long story short, and she just recently got out of jail. And there's a lot more to the story, but essentially that's what happened. And she ended up killing her mom because she was tired of because essentially her mom made her feel like she was crazy and like sick for her entire life. And then when she realized that she didn't have anything wrong with her,
it was all a lie.
Yeah, it was all a lie. Essentially, her entire life was a lie. And so she ended up killing her mother. And she just recently got out of jail, and she's been in the news recently. I don't know exactly for what.
Did they not make a little
trying to drag her
recently? Wasn't there a movie made about that story recently? In the last probably.
There is a new movie being made. I think there might have been a movie made in the past, but they're making a new one as well.
Yeah.
But when I heard about that case, I was like, wow.
And how do you feel about this woman? When you heard the story, did you relate to her?
I don't know her personally, but I feel for her because I mean, just I've been like, I've had a lot of people try and tell me that I'm this or tell me that I'm that a lot of times in my life. So I know how that feels, but what happened to her is on a whole nother level.
Right.
And so I empathize with it. And I was just curious if you'd heard about that case, because it's not every day you hear about that kind of stuff.
Right. That's one of those. Well, I mean, who can blame her? I know that sounds blunt, but I think it's shocking she even went to jail. If I'm, it's a good thing I wasn't on the jury.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I would think, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. But, law is the law. In my experiences, Jordan, the law is designed to keep the victims victimized and the bullies in power, period, and has no other purpose than that. Rarely is any justice ever served. And no, I don't see it.
Unfortunately, people are just more concerned about getting the money right. Usually it comes down to getting the money or having control over people.
Even if working within the laws are designed to support them and to not support you. They're, their business to keep liability is what lawyers are. And so, I've never found them to be useful at all. I finally gave up the last time. It's been years now that I had to go with my stalker, and I didn't even go with a lawyer. I just showed up. It doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever is whatever. I'm out of time here. Nobody's paying any attention. Why am I paying this goofball to say to say the same thing, and then you still don't see? I'll stand here myself and tell you I'm being stalked by this person. And again, why can't you just get along? Okay. Okay.
Is it really that hard? Right.
Tell him to stop driving by my house. Tell him to stop checking my email. Tell this person to stop harassing me. But I'm the problem. I'm the one that's not behaving, just these experiences in my life. I've seen them there, and it's very frustrating. And that's what I get the sense of. Those are, when I'm listening to stories, those are the moments I'm put back in time, like a scent or a song that just throws you back into the memory. And I'm thinking, a good therapist will say, sit in that. How does that make you feel? When was the last time you felt like that? And that's what happens. So I'm seeing this woman or this man, and they're going through this experience, and I'm going, God, I know what they're feeling. I know that feeling, I've had that feeling before. Of course, my set looked like this. My set had this going on, and maybe there was a tree involved, and their set has a church, and their set has a school, but it's the same experience, same script even. That's what's so funny. Sometimes people say things, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
They're reading are they reading my diary?
I know. It gets crazy sometimes. It's like, how do you know that?
Yeah. It's the perfect summary of the Just Us. Very good.
Yep.
Beautiful. Definitely. I love that. I've never heard it said that way before. And then Zen says, I wonder how many inconservative ships vanish. Jeez. Yeah, how would you even know?
In a lot of these cases, you wouldn't. And in a lot of these cases, they'd probably just cover it up, and it would probably be very easy to cover it up. Or sure. They can make it look like an accident. They could also make it look like you died and it was an accident.
Right.
In a lot of these cases.
Right.
She fell off a bridge or something, or she jumped.
Yeah.
Because she had a manic episode. She was having a manic episode. She was having a manic episode. She walked out on the bridge and she jumped off.
Yep, I know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's having a manic episode. It's craziness.
That's the one. She ran away again.
Yep, we gotta lock her up. We gotta get her and bring her back and lock her up. And
she won't let me keep hitting her in the face, Your Honor.
She just won't.
I don't understand. I put a roof over her head. She has a car. She doesn't even have to work. She stays home. I've isolated her. I've kept all the bad people out of her life. I don't know why my son won't let me continually beat him in the face. That's one of the things in this room we talk about. A lot of us are early runner wayers. We were born with was just a no an instant no, whatever it was.
They called it OCD or not
ADD.
obsessive no, it was I think maybe it was OCD, but it was like a resistance to authority. Like they literally diagnosed me with that.
Attention deficit disorder.
No, there's something else that they called it for me, but I had ADHD too.
Right. You didn't have ADHD, Jordan. Can I just absolve you of that thought right now? You didn't. You were normal as a child. When I was a kid, I had a whole daydreaming.
I don't know. I would literally bounce off the walls. Like I was one of those kids, like when we went into Home Depot, I would literally run away from my parents and like climb up the shelves in the store and to the very top. And I would just hide like where the doors are, where they have the sliding doors and you can like go behind them. I would climb up the shelves and hide from my parents and be like,
I was always jealous of kids like you. I'd go in the grocery. Now, generationally, we've got differences. So that, but I remember being a little girl and I wasn't allowed to go climb up on top of the dog food. Like they would have these big bags, a flat there with all the big bags of dog food on sale, the bashes. And I would see kids sitting on top of them and I'd want to sit up there. I wasn't allowed to do that. Don't do that, And I think, but they're allowed to do it.
Like inside the cart, like when they put
you.
Yeah,
that would have been you. I would have been that kid looking at you like, man, I wish I could do that.
Maybe I was just, I think kids are supposed to have energy, but I definitely had a lot of energy. So I definitely had I didn't have that many friends because I was so like full of energy that people would be like, I don't like, he's just weird. I don't like
him. I had a kid like you in my preschool class. I loved him to fucking bits. And he was just a horrible little kid, but he was my favorite.
Yeah.
And he came from a troubled, and he had gotten kicked out of like 3 daycares or preschools and daycare centers before us. And my boss goes, I've got the teacher for this one. And she said, and so I was called in and I was like, hell yeah, give him to me. I love him. But kids like you should have been in, you needed to be like, you're like a dog. I don't mean it in a bad way, but you're like a puppy. There's different breeds of puppies.
Yeah, I just wanted to play. And I had a very overactive imagination.
Yes. That's nothing wrong with you. That's nothing wrong with you. That's everything right. That's what's going to make you an amazing thinker and a great artist and a doer and a dreamer. And they wanted to stifle that in you and every kid like you. I was told I'd never amount to anything because I daydreamed too much. You'll never amount to anything. And I said, well, okay. That was my idea. Definitely. These are the terms they use, and other generations got their hands whacked. Another group in here were getting whacked with the ruler and just whatever. I feel bad because your generation and you were hit with medicine.
Yeah,
that was a direct hit.
I was medicated pretty much from the age of 5.
Right, and that is a direct hit. And the fact that, did these medicines help you or were you still hyperactive?
I mean, so they put me on Ritalin when I was 5. And so I believe it calmed me down and my parents said it calmed me down. Like, not that it calmed me down. I could just focus. Like, if that makes sense. Like, not that it calmed me down, but I could actually focus. Like when I was given an assignment, I could actually sit down in a chair and actually do the assignment. Because otherwise I would just be like, I still like tap my leg or I have to be doing something constantly. Right. And then I have to be getting up and like walking around. I couldn't just sit still and do something. But when I was on the essentially speed, I could focus on things. So it could make me focus, but I don't think it made me calmer. No, I still had no active imagination and all of it.
It allowed you to take a test.
Yeah.
That's what that medicine did to the children. Do you mind telling us what year you were born, just for us old heads in here?
1991, March 15th.
91. I mean, remember, so you're probably the same age as most of our kids. So a lot of us in here anyway. And so 91, I mean, that was the average. At that point, that was at a time where it was rare. You might have one or two, maybe one kid that was on a Ritalin, and IEPs didn't even exist yet.
Yeah, they were like a newer drug.
Cases.
My parents actually went, I think my parents actually went to like a doctor that was trying out these new medications like for the very first time. It was around that time.
And they were now let me just give you what I can here. So let me go into a little history that was going on here. So now I was married to a teacher, administrator, and then district staff eventually. Okay. So I'm well versed in the school districts here and during that time specifically. And so teachers were getting teacher periodicals. So, magazines, just the same as doctors do, teachers do. So it's the same. They go to conferences and they have these people, these pharmaceutical representatives talking to them about studies, teaching them how to notice these kids in their classrooms, encouraging them to reach out to parents and teaching them how to tell a parent their kid is a problem without triggering the parent into anger or some type of a reaction. They were being trained to do and look for exactly what they found with you. And that's the truth of how sick this system really is. It was always designed to go into the schools, this medicine. And they were, advertising it and promoting it in kindergarten, right there in the 90s. Unbelievable. That also is the Prozac era, 91 Prozac era. So is that what year you said, 91?
Yep, 91. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now I graduated from high school in 92. So you were a year old when I graduated. So my reference is about, that much of a difference, about 50. So my view there, but see, now we're jumping ahead 5 years. And in 5 years, I wasn't a teenager. I was a young adult having children and in the system now. And so exactly where you're showing up, I witnessed that happening. Friends of ours, teachers talking about it, my ex talking about it, Prozac was being explored during that era for teenagers. So I was a victim of the Prozac. I stopped taking that shit within about 3 weeks.
Did you have any side effects from stopping to take it?
No, because, and I was warned about that as well. I was told, this was after the abduction. So I did have a legit serious, I had a near death there, and two near death experiences back to back within a year. All aligned around that particular, pre-event that had been boiling. So, this was a way of trying to keep me, steady, as one of those kids. So after I came out of the hospital that I was in, that was like a treatment center for, I guess, maybe suicide watch kids. I'm not really sure what we were in there, but everyone had something going on. And that was where they would put you, they put you on these medications. And so the minute I got out of there, I quit taking them. And they had been telling me, like, don't stop taking them. Even my parents were like, now because I've never been a big medicine person, not even as a kid. Yeah. So I thought medicine tasted so nasty. I would be like, no way, I'm not sick. But that was, drilled into you. Slow, we'll help you get off of it. You have to go off slow. And for me, being a no person, didn't even think twice the minute they were gone. And so I don't remember I was so happy to get rid of them that any side effects that might have showed up were already masked by the amount of crap that was going on in my head. So I wouldn't even have noticed at that moment. That would have been probably about a 2-month mark after the event. So, Hello, William. Good to see you. At Ricky's Radio, I see you. So, yeah. So that's about as much personal information as I think I've ever shared, really, I've shared a little bit of that. So it's not like I haven't ever mentioned it, but it's, I don't, because it doesn't, same reason why. This is just me talking to you, Jordan, friend to friend.
Yeah.
The same reason why I didn't come out with the meaning of life based off of some near-death experience. It didn't feel authentic. I could say that. I could walk around with a beanie on my head and some pretty tattoos on my fingers and tell everyone, how to find peace in their soul. But that wasn't me. I had to come at it from I had to research it, verify it, chronicle it, be able to defend it as an idea and that's when I started sharing it on. So I've never, it's only been recently that I've, since I've started having more friends that think on a spiritual level, I felt a little bit more comfortable sharing some of the experiences and things that have happened to me on an unconscious level through those traumas that I was describing and how I even got to where I am today. Because when we take these traumas and we go into them, Zen will know, and you sit in it, and you pause it for a moment like it's frozen in time, and you look at it from this side and you just do a 180, and you pick that person and this place you were at and that show you were watching and that song that was popular at the time and the boy you were dating, and then you go, man, I see how I got here now. Okay, hold on, there's an exit door here. And then I scan the room for the exit door to leave all that shit behind and then take out of it what I've learned there. So I'm not going to sit here and cry about my ex-husband narcissistic. I can't have a channel where I expose narcissists. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? I probably am out there, but we're friends. So
yeah, no problem.
Who
knows? If you sit with that trauma, you might just end up having like stars dancing around your inner organs and stuff like that.
Man. So Jordan, how many meditative out of body type lucid experiences do you remember having when you were in those solitude moments of your incarceration, if you will? Did you have them?
Boarding school?
Yeah. When you were going through all that, did you ever have moments where you just felt outside of yourself, where you were kind of looking in?
Anytime I read a book, I would instantly be transported to like any like escape that I could get with my mind to like get out of that place. So like any book I would read, I'd be like literally that character in the book.
Yes, me too. Avid reader you were. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd do that. You weren't allowed to look out the windows or anything like that. You would actually get consequence. They would consider it run plans. They would be like, "Oh, you're planning on running. If you're looking out the window, why are you looking out the window? You planning on running?" Yeah.
Why do you have a window there?
Yeah, I mean, all of our windows. There was like a window there, but they were all barred up, and so you could see outside, but like there was like grating on it, and then you'd still get consequenced if you looked out of it. So. So I couldn't daydream like outside, but I would sit there in my bed and I would just wish I wasn't there. It was really bad at some.
Where did you like to go? Where did you like to go?
Just like.
What would you imagine when you would
just being back home and like actually able to do stuff, actually able to like wear what I wanted and like talk to who I wanted to talk to and like. Just having like actual like regular freedoms that people usually take for granted. I just wish I had like basic freedoms for the most part. Just like being able to like make myself food by myself and like take a shower for longer than 5 minutes and like just not have to sleep with like 30 other people in my room.
Right.
That sometimes I didn't really like some of the people in my room. So just like basic stuff that I would just imagine having my autonomy back.
Yeah. Well, I liked summer camp, but I wouldn't have wanted to do it for a year, a week, that was a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you, and it's the thing that I'm thinking of is, see, I could sleep a lot. And I know in those programs, they don't let you do that. They
No,
refuse to let
they
you
get
live
you.
in your lucid state. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get you up really early in the morning, and it goes right into a rigorous workout session. And you have 15 seconds to have your feet on the floor, or you get a category 3 consequence, which takes away, I think it's 80 merits, and you can only make like 24 merits in a day. So if you get one cat 3, then you're pretty much fucked for like 3 days. So you had to have your feet on the floor within 15 seconds, or you get that cat 3.
So that sounds more like boot camp.
Oh yeah, it's like boot camp. It's like boot camp, but on steroids. It's worse than boot camp because at least with boot camp, you're choosing to go through it, and you know what you're signing up for.
True. You understand its purpose.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite type of books, or what was your favorite book? Did you have one you liked, or do you have some that you liked? What did you like to read? What was your favorite story to fall into?
Terry Goodkind and the Sword of Truth series.
I've never heard of that.
It's fucking awesome. It's like literally, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. It's literally about this warrior that like back in like medieval times, and there's like sorcerers and like warriors and like dragons, and it's really mythical.
Do you have this series still?
Huh?
Do you have this series still?
I think I have the first book, but they're really thick books. They're like this thick. They're really thick, so I got to like get super lost in them. And it was like just the story of him getting his soul back, essentially.
Interesting.
Throughout all these stories.
You identified with the main character then?
Well, yeah. No, looking back on it, I didn't at the time. I don't know if I made that connection, but looking back on it, yeah. Definitely.
What can you remember a situation he was in that you felt was similar to yours?
I mean, just like at the very beginning, he like his soul is taken from him, and so he has to like and he loses like all of his family. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I believe he lost all of his family, and then his soul was taken from him, and it was just like the books are like his quest like to reclaim his soul and like find out like who he is again, I guess.
Yeah.
So he has to like reclaim his identity. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than some of the other stories.
But it's totally fantasy. It's really crazy. And it was really like violent and stuff. And I like that. Like it was one of those books, like if they knew if any of the staff members like had actually read any of those books, like actually the whole book, then they'd be like, yeah, this isn't appropriate to have here. Definitely
right.
Not. There was like sexual themes and like violence and stuff like that. But then there was also really good stories.
Books. Did somebody give them to you, or they were there available? Or
so we had a library we could go to like once a week if we didn't get a cat 3 that week. If we didn't get a cat 3 that week, then we could rent. I believe it was like 3 books at a time. And so also if you were level 3 stars, we could go on these computers in the library. And they had this game called Serious Sam, and it was just like this shoot 'em up game. And so I'd always play that. And they had a few other games on there. And so you could play that if you were high enough level. And then you could check out books. But they only had like certain books. Like there was tons of books that they just wouldn't allow. So the fact that those books like made it through, yeah, pretty dope.
Interesting. Charming has a question. Welcome to the Rotten Kingdom, Jordan. Did Goodkind's political philosophy influence you? What?
Okay, so he's asking a question about the book.
Yes.
Political philosophy.
I wouldn't even know about the political part. I'd be like, where do I put that? But yes, if you've got an answer, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, I would like to know what he means by political what did he say? Political, and get back to the question.
Philosophy.
Political philosophy.
He's a caveman. Okay. Ignore him. His caveman brain. So, well, I'll say that. I think it is a good question. I'm just going to remove the political part. What was it about the philosophy there. Yeah, go.
His philosophy, like in the story, like the story arc. Are you asking about this?
Okay. Now we all barely graduated, Charming.
Okay,
I
I'm pretty sure I know what objectivism is. I think it's like maybe I do. Okay, no, I don't. It's something to do with object. It's something to do, or is it objecting to something?
Objective. It's objective from my perspective.
looking at things from an objective point of view.
Yes.
Yeah.
In other words, I can see both sides. Objective. Yeah. I can sit here and object.
To be completely honest with you, though, it's been so fucking long since I read those books that I like barely remember enough about it to honestly answer that question, I think.
Well, I'm going to give you some homework. I think you should have to look and see if they are on YouTube as audiobooks. Recommend cleaning your house or driving or something.
Well, that's a hella good idea. I could totally get lost in audio. Somebody reading me, dude. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. I'm totally
try that. I love listening to audio. I do. I am an audio book lover. I've never paid for them. I've never had that, but
I do love the smell of books, though. I don't know what it is with the smell of books. I actually like the smell of physical books. I don't know what that is, but
that's what I mean. I don't own any of them. I don't pay for audiobooks. I like real books. I'm with you. I like the cracking of the spine, the smell, the feeling of the pages. I like turning the pages. I like the sound the page makes when it, the ASMR thing, but the audiobooks are nice for those times. Like when I'm crocheting, I would love to sit and read the book, but I want to crochet.
Yeah, you can do two things at once. It's like a way to do multiple things at a time.
Yeah, it's rad. I like to listen to podcasts. That's where a lot of the lectures and things that I share on my channel come from. I'll find some interesting topic and throw it on, and I'll start crocheting. And I'll go, shit, I got to share this. This is fascinating stuff.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Jerry.
Okay, actually, what did he say? Philosophical.
Yes, I can. I'm the queen. I can do whatever I want.
Ayn Rand's philosophical approach to objectivism made reference to Rand's.
Off to the dungeon with you, Jerry. How dare you question authority?
I did not know that.
Okay, yeah, let's see what.
Now I remember what objectivism was. That was a good kind. That was a fucking Ayn Rand philosophy.
Okay, so I don't know anything about this. So yes, re-answer the question. I'm here.
But yeah, I did not know that. That's awesome.
You're fun to talk to.
Thank you.
My chat is fun to fuck with. They're quite comical. They make me laugh.
That's always good.
Don't take anything too seriously.
Oh no, I don't take stuff seriously unless it's a serious thing. Then I do take it seriously.
Right. Charming's loving you. They're loving you. I can definitely tell. They're engaged with you. If they didn't like you, they'd be booing you right now. It's like the Gong Show. Get that guy off of there.
Yeah, sometimes boos are good too, though. Then it makes you look at yourself and be like, oh shit, maybe I'm not good at this. Like,
I don't know, William. Was the question answered?
I had no idea that I know I'm horizontal. Possibly.
Yeah. Ulick's loving you too. Excellent. If you can get Ulick to like you. He's like Mikey. He hates everything. Ulick likes you.
Awesome. These are good things.
So back to, I love that you said that, because I was absolutely one of those kids that identified with the characters in the books. When I read the book, I was Pippi Longstockings. My visual went there. I loved books that had a lot of, as I got older, one of the things that attracted me to the Harry Potter series at an off age for me, not really at the time, but was the way she described the setting.
Yeah,
Same thing with
the
Tolkien,
description.
same thing with, so The Hobbit, these books had such beautiful written imagery, but not to the point that I couldn't make it up. It wasn't so detailed. So I could read it
do you
and
not like Stephen
unlock it.
King? Do you not like Stephen King then? Because Stephen King is
I
extremely
do.
detailed.
Yeah, and I have several of his books. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a collector. And my mom's given me some. I've liked Stephen King for many, many years as a kid, but then that's an 80s and a book reader. I remember getting on a plane. This probably would have been 1984. I couldn't tell you, but he had just let out a series of books, and I was flying from Arizona to Maine. And I grabbed the book at the grocery store. You know, I was a teenager or a young kid. I was a, tween. I think I was probably like double digits, maybe 10 or 11. And I grabbed the series, and that was what I read the whole way there while I listened to, Tears for Fears on my Walkman. Everybody wants to rule the world. I mean, these kinds of things you remember. But yeah, I like that. And are you a lucid dreamer?
So I don't usually, recently, and this is crazy, but ever since I did that focusing session with Zen, I've been having like super like lucid dreams. And usually I don't remember I literally don't remember my dreams at all. But literally it's been like, I've been having lucid dreams. Isn't it a bad thing? I'm just going with it, going with the flow. But yeah, it's sometimes, not usually. I don't usually remember my dreams. I usually, if I have a dream, a lot of the time they turn into nightmares. And I usually don't enjoy that, but I usually don't remember them either. But recently I've been remembering them, and not all of it has been enjoyable, to say the least, but I've just been like going with it because it's there for a reason, And I think dreams
that's an excellent way to look at them.
I think dreams are trying to tell you something, but you have to be open to like receiving what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah, I don't have dreams anymore. I have excursions. I'm a big lucid dreamer. The reason I ask that is because you have that quality of identifying into the story, whereas you are Gumby. You walk in the book. You're Jiminy Cricket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in there, and that's a unique quality. I think, there's a difference between people who enjoy a book and people who become the book. One of the reasons that I don't read now is because I need to sit and read the book. I'm not one that can just sit and read a great big thick, one chapter at a time or catch 30 minutes here. Once I start reading, I don't want to put it down until I finished reading it, and that's hard to do when you're doing other things with your life and you're a parent and you have other responsibilities. That's I remember I am, I don't want to stop reading it.
I remember being in I think it was like 5th grade, and I was reading It by Stephen King. Yeah. And literally, I could not put that book down. I literally, in class, I literally would be like, oh, that's cool. She's teaching. I'm reading my book. I was just reading my book. I was so into it. That book is so good. It's so detailed.
I liked it because the clown reference, the clown symbol as a symbol is one of mine. So it's in my God. So every one of us has our own God language.
Yeah.
And everyone has different hieroglyphs or symbols. And yet there's a universal set of hieroglyphs. Mm-hmm. And they, so these are my symbols and hieroglyphs. So, I've learned to identify them. I should teach a class how to identify your symbols for you. It would be under the guise of synchronicity, but I don't think people really understand how serious it is. You can't just say, oh, I'm a wolf because you like a wolf. Your totem comes from behaviors. It comes from understanding the symbol relative to you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's one of mine. And so I liked that because it played on that. It played on that 99 red balloons, sewer in the sewer. I mean, these are all things that were typical of the era, very good in this. Stephen King's a brilliant at symbols and using them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, The Shining was excellent.
Shining was excellent. I love that too. I'm between
the movie sucked. The movie sucked though. They didn't even explain what Shining is in the movie.
It's your soul. It's your inner, hide it under a bush. Oh no, I'm gonna let it shine.
Yep.
Yeah, so back to lucid dreaming. So I find these things interesting. So you've had some. The thing, so I was a lucid dreamer younger. It wasn't even until it wasn't even that long ago that I even learned that I was different here. I thought everybody did this stuff. But you have to be okay. What you're doing, I think, is wonderful. You have to be okay with the scary dreams to eventually control them. So if you're even identifying the fact that you are okay with them, you're already setting into the motion of potentially lucid dreaming, or in the sense of being able to manipulate and control your dreams, even if just in small ways, like, blink, you could clap your hands or snap your fingers, and whatever person is in your dream that has shown up randomly to irritate you, you can poof them out of existence, like the Twilight Zone movie kid did. I have that ability. Now, as an adult, I can do, I have superpowers now. When I see that movie Inception, where they just rotate I can do that. I can turn buildings inside out. I can zoom to a villa. And I do that with, obviously I get ideas and influences from television, but I was doing that before television was doing that, before I was old enough, and so to me, the television only showed me something I already experienced, which tells me that the writer is also an imaginer or a thinker like me. And these are how it expresses. And it does feel like this whooshing. It does. You like that flipping, you could just snap your fingers and blink it out but it's more fun to watch it morph into something else,
Definitely.
So I would say keep going, because, that's a great way of learning to lasso them. If I was giving a class on how to lucid dream, that would definitely be in the steps. Identify that it is a bad dream and that it's okay to be having it. Because how can you know you're dreaming if you can't identify what you're dreaming?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm working on I'm usually chased in my dreams, or it's either there's a bunch of people chasing me, or it alternates between that, or I'm literally being trapped. So, I'm in a place and I'm told I cannot leave, which is exactly what happened to me when I went to boarding school. So I'm wondering if my brain is stuck in a loop or something in my dream, where I just need to
I love dream interpretation. Can we sit here for a minute? Yeah.
So I'm working on hopefully just jumping out of the building or something, or just turning around and seeing who's chasing me, and just standing there and see who's chasing me. Because I want to know, but I need to work. I've been wondering how to go about it. I just need to do it. Just turn around. Just turn around in your dream.
Have you ever looked that up? Have you ever looked up that particular dream, being trapped in a building or something, and what that would mean?
I haven't.
No, that's very interesting. I encourage you to do that, even if it seems silly, because a lot of these there's so many channels that are just telling you bull crap. So try to find a website or a book that's got older, put in your search engines, anything pre-2000. So max out at 2000 and read some of these older books that were coming out during the hippie era. I think you'll get a better, now I'm not saying they're going to be right, but
it'll give you a little idea maybe of what.
Yeah, it gets you a starting off point.
Yeah.
because that can mean a lot of things. And really, you don't even have to do the books, because honestly, if you just sat for yourself for a minute and go, what would it mean if I feel like I'm trapped in a building? What could that possibly be related to? You know,
I feel in my soul that it is having to do with the boarding school, though, because in that dream, there's like a ton of people throughout this building. So I'll try and run, and I'll make it a certain distance, and then I'll get tackled by the people, and they'll be like, "Oh no, you couldn't make it out," or "Nice try," or whatever. And then it'll reset, and I'll be back in the building, and then I'll try and run again, and then I'll get caught again. And so,
when did you start having these dreams?
I mean, they're not like consistent like every night, but more frequently since I did this focusing session. So I think that I'm going in, and I'm definitely dealing with some stuff inside right now, and I think it's coming out in my dream.
Yeah, could I just off the top of my head, I would say that maybe you could say no, I don't think so, but here's an idea. What you're doing and listening to these people's stories and putting yourself back in these moments and connecting in the way that you're doing, on top of the focusing session that you did with Zen.
Mm-hmm.
This, because to me, those kind of dreams that happen, like especially when it's a reoccurring dream like that, that to me it's a symbol that something's going on, you know. And so I might assume it means that I feel trapped, but maybe it's telling me that I'm conquering that feeling. That just because association, obviously, if you're listening to it's when we have Tetris that tells us that if we play this game, I'm going to dream about things falling. So you have the association naturally going to occur because of what you're focused on. And when you did that session, you unlocked that part of you that was going to make you visually aware of yourself here, and really be able to do that. And by throwing it right back at you, you know, and you're saying, I'm still going to try again. I'm still going to run tomorrow, and the next night, and the next night, and the next night. Every time you put me back here, I'm going to keep running out and finding and sharing, you know.
And you know the craziest part is every time right before I wake up, I'm like getting away. Like I'm making it. Like I'm actually making it.
Running away into your waking world where they don't control you. Yeah. You're running right into my waking world where you go, I got this. I'm out here now. You did. That's beautiful. I love dreams. I think they're neat. He's becoming a Jedi. There you go. Jerry says it's better. He says, first you need to acknowledge that you're even dreaming.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I can remember. Yeah, I can remember me. I was probably like maybe 6 or 7. I was before doubled. I was young. And I was having dreams of being chased, and I would fly, but I couldn't like soar like Superman. I could only fly up, and then I'd have to stop for a minute, take a break on top of a tree or a building. So it was more like Spider-Man, I guess. But and I would be chased. And so I would fly to the next one, and there they'd be back down at that tree. Fuck. And this would happen. And then one day in my dream, I would wake up. This is my reoccurring dream at this age. I woke up and, in the dream, I remember in the dream. Here's what happens with me. So I think it's just something I'm born with. Whatever might have triggered it, I don't know. But when I fall back to sleep, I go right back into the dream. So if I do wake up from the nightmare, I would just fall right back into whatever dream. I don't rouse enough to actually remove me from the dream. So I can just drift right back into it.
Yeah.
And so that's what was happening. And then I jumped off the roof right in front of them and stood there and looked at them, and then gone. No,
they were gone. They disappeared.
That was it. It was like I always equated it to like when I saw Buffy, or say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or say, any movie like that, where that's how it felt to me. It felt like I got superpowers, and I just jumped down and like karate chopped the fuck out of them into little tiny, like, Kill Bill. Kill Bill was another movie that I identified with her. I felt like that.
Awesome movie.
That would be my dream. If I was to write my story, I could have wrote it in that way. And so, I get that. And then that was it. And that's when I finally had so at that point, I gained access by the ether above to play in there. And so I've been able to manipulate dreams ever since. I can still get trapped in them. I just had an experience of being stuck in an office building / mall / cafeteria / department store / hospital / library. You ever heard of those? Every time I go through a door, I'm in a new place and I'm going, fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm awake. I'm in the dream, aware of the dream. And every time I go through a fucking door, I'm right in another place with the same fucking shitheads sitting at tables with different uniforms on, and I blinked myself out through. I didn't even go through a door. I just walked through the wall out into the grassy knoll. It was an all glass building. All the outside walls were glass, but you couldn't go. There was no doors, so I can totally relate to these. What do you do? Quit going through the doors, you dummy.
Have you ever had a dream where you're falling? I hated those. When I was younger, I used to get those all the time. When I'm just falling. And then you wake up right before you hit the ground. It's the worst. Yeah.
No, but my wee one has started experiencing those. And at her age, I can understand why. She's going into, she's getting up there towards, she'll be 9. So the tween is showing, and the body, the mind are all starting to change. And so I actually have a stream I'm going to do. I do have tabs on it. I thought it was so interesting. That got me looking into the developmental stages of dreams. So what ages do we dream what? And there's a correlation. I found that fucking fascinating. You got to be kidding me. So it's very common for this age to have these dreams. Now, you can still have them as an adult, but the point is they show up for you and everyone else like you roughly around the same time. How interesting is that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Dreams are crazy.
They are. Do you have like a totem?
I don't have a totem yet. I don't. I have what I call an I am statement from when I was in boarding school.
Okay, what's that?
It's right behind me right there, but it's also, I also have a rock of it. But I'm an empathetic, loving, handsome, and powerful man. And my purpose is to unconditionally love both myself and others while maturing through growth and integrity.
Nice. So this is your mantra.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah, I made it in the program. I mean, the way they went about getting to that wasn't the best way. I don't agree with their techniques or whatnot, but that's essentially when you go down to the bare nitty gritty of who I am, that's who I am. So.
Mm-hmm. And now, were these names you came up with or adjectives you came up with yourself?
So they have this process where you go and retrieve your magical child and you have a conversation with your magical child. And
tell me about this conversation.
So they have this magical child thing, which is essentially your inner child, which is like, that's like where the gold is in these seminars, is because this magical child is your inner child. And if you actually go and do the soul retrieval, I believe that's part of it, but they don't go about it in a way that's I feel is effective. But anyways, you go and they get you in this meditative state. And this is after like breaking you down and then building up this crescendo. And then you have this release process. and it's after this release process. And then you go into this guided meditation right after releasing a bunch of energy. And you go into this guided meditation, and they start being like, imagine you're in one of the most beautiful places. Just imagine the most beautiful place you can in your mind, and just go there. And then when they like narrate that you go there and you meet your magical child or your inner child, and there's like this workshop there that you're inside of, and that's where you craft your I am statement. And then in the next seminar, you do that one in discovery, which is the second seminar. And then in the third seminar, focus, is you go back and meet your magical child in that guided meditation again, and then you craft your purpose statement. And then when you graduate the program, they give you a slab of granite with your I am statement engraved in it. So, but so that part is like, that part I appreciate about the seminars, but why couldn't they just like go into that right away? Because all the other processes were just to break you down and make you feel like you're a horrible person, and then build you back up into what they feel like you should be.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The whole magical child thing, I've always wondered about since I got out of the program, especially now that I know about the Kundalini energy and stuff like that. I've wondered if they knew possibly about this energy, and if they were trying to forcibly push it out of us. I don't think that they're that knowledgeable when I really think about it, but it is a possibility. So I don't know whether or not they were trying to force emotional purging or whatever they were trying to do. I just feel like the magical child was a good thing to put in there. That's like the grain of truth in the seminars, and like the grain of gold right there is the magical child.
Well, they did read some books.
Yeah, they knew something. They knew enough to brainwash people and to do the whole thing. There you
go. Because what I heard you telling me was that they were masters at dissociation through the abuse, through the schedules, through the isolation, through the manipulation. And then on top of it, they introduce you to dissociate, meet your inner child. I mean, it sounds very much like what the Illuminati might do in underground, warehouses of pizza joints. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they would tell us, they would be like, your magical child is the only good part of is the good part of you. That is the good part of you. It's the only good part of you. Like that is because your magical child is innocent. It doesn't have like these preconceptions about the world or any trauma like that. It's just a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. That part was deep, but everything else is brainwashing, and just didn't sign up for it, and it's just not good. They have this, Dad actually had this process too called the giver taker process, where you would be like, go in a circle and look at someone in the eye and be like, giver, taker, and like literally be like super like abrupt with it, like you're actually cutting them out of your life, like physically, like just like, you are a giver, you're a taker, like you take from people. That's what you do. This is who you are. And then they do stuff like that. And then they add processes like the lifeboat process, where you're in a guided meditation, and then all of a sudden they go like, bang, now you're on a cruise ship, and all of a sudden the cruise ship is sinking, and you have to choose who deserves to live and who deserves to die. And so
what a horrible thing to do to teenagers and kids.
You go in a circle, and then sometimes they throw in shit like, look at this next person, and then you'll rotate to the next person, and they'll be like, now look at this next person, like your father who raped you when you were 7. Does he deserve to live, or should he die? And then they'll go to the next person, and they'll be like, look at this person, like your mom that loves you. Does she deserve to live, or does she deserve to die? Cut her out of your life or keep her in it. And then they'll just like keep on, make you go around the whole circle. And then if you choose to live, you get to vote yourself. And so if you choose to live, which is what I did, they say, okay, since you think you're so much better than everybody else, let's hear why you deserve to live and not everybody else. And I was up there for like 15 minutes. They put you on the spot and give you a microphone, and then you have to get up in front of everybody. And then you're like, okay, tell us For you have
sick.
you have 5
That's
minutes.
so sick.
Yeah, they're like, you have 5 minutes. If you can't go the 5 minutes, then you don't live. And so then I lasted like 15 seconds, and then I broke down crying, and they broke me. And so yeah, that process really intense. They do stuff like that, and then yeah,
that's horrible what they did.
And it's really fucked up.
It is. That's
I'm just like skimming
horrible.
the surface of it, but there's a lot of shit to it. But
I remember him doing a lot of that kind of stuff too, you know, making gratitude lists and things. And everybody, you know, they expected you had to make like a list of 10 things that you're grateful for. And I can't think of a fucking thing I'm grateful for. Right. And, you know, they have a list they want you to go by. You're grateful for your friends or your, you know, your mom or your grandma or whatever. You know, you're supposed to name at least one person, maybe your dog. And I was like, I don't want to even say any of those things because, duh, I'm thankful for them. So I'm going to put all of the ridiculous things I'm thankful for. So
yeah,
to me, that was more powerful. I got that. I know I love my dog.
Yeah.
Let me think of all the bullshit outside of these things, because those things clearly aren't keeping me happy. I'm thankful for slippers. That was my number one thing I was thankful for. Appreciated slippers. I stopped for a minute and I thought, you know, life would be different for me if I didn't have slippers.
They're so fuzzy and comfortable.
Yeah. You know, and so it was these kinds of things. And of course, you know, you're not doing it right. Yep. Okay. Tell me something I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
And
funny.
To answer your question about Jerry Marzinski and his claim of energy vampires from It's a Duck, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've heard Jerry Marzinski directly. I don't know if I've heard that name directly, but I do believe that there are energy vampires. I know for a fact, like people, I mean, there's leeches, people that are just straight leeches that will just come into your life and literally just suck everything out of your life, your happiness and everything. So I definitely believe they're a real thing. And I definitely believe they were in the program too. They were leeching off of our the energy.
Yeah.
I feel like they were leeching the energy. They, you know, they wanted to break us down and they wanted to destroy us, and they tried. But
a few of you didn't work. It didn't stick to you, Jordan.
Yeah. Didn't stick.
You're made of rubber, not glue.
I'm rubber, you're glue.
Definitely. Isn't that fabulous? It didn't stick to me either. Oh, funny. Yeah, I could tell stories. I remember when I first walked in the place, because the state got involved because it was now a police investigation. And so I was released in state care at that time. And I walked in the little building and there was this girl. She ended up becoming like my buddy. And she plops down next to me and she says, "Do you have any cigarettes on you?" And I said, "Yes." "You better smoke them now because you're not going to get to in about 3 minutes." And I was like, fuck that, I'm not staying.
Yes, do that.
Little did I know, I didn't have any control over that, you know. But from that moment on, you know, she was my little partner in crime. And so we earned all of our rewards so that we could go to the park. And the first time we were at the park, she wasn't there much before me. And so we get to the park and we look at each other. The track, if you earn another reward, you get to walk the track.
Yeah.
So the track means you're very far. Them fuckers couldn't catch you. And that's exactly what we did. So I was on the run from our center. You know, that's what I end up planning from the first day. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, for real. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Screw that.
We had to go back, finish, but nonetheless, it was a great story. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I was one of those kids, you know, and I wouldn't have traded that experience for anything at all. I would love to meet her now, but well, who knows where the fuck she is? That was so long ago. It's be like 1990. That was a very long time ago. But I think about her all the time. So for that time that you're there, is there a month, just over a month, and I mean, these people become your family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you become really close to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I went to my roommate's wedding several years later. Off into college, and so we kept in touch for a moment, but then that's before the computers.
Yeah, there's a lot of people from the program that have died or committed suicide. Mm-hmm. But you make a lot of really close relationships there. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Relationships are kind of what keep you going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I remember now the place I was at it was run by a hospital. So, but it was on a hospital campus. So not
Those
like.
Those can be bad too.
Mm-hmm. And the kids that were there were typically there because they had some type of abuse taking place. And so it was kind of a in-between zone for,
like transitional.
Yeah. So not the same thing. I just want to be clear that, I'm not comparing that, but it was similar in some things. We were lucky enough. There was staff that would, there was a couple, like there was a guy at night, a night nurse that sat at the desk, and he was way rad and just so easygoing. And if you were up in the middle of the night, this is how I ended up getting involved in dream science in the first place, because I was having this reoccurring dream and I couldn't sleep, and I just popped out of my room, and he would just let me, he would let me tell him at the front desk the dream, and then he'd get me a cup of water and he'd say, all right, and he'd talk to you. It was a different time than it is today too, as well. So this, like I said, 90. But he would bring a book in and let's look at it. They were involved. I think at that point in that location, these were people that were truly interested in helping, not in controlling. And I think what we have today is an industry of controlling across the board, not just in extreme cases, but in just about all of the cases now. The stories from people in current center is similar to what I was at. Not the same experience, Yep.
And then some people are just flat out greedy. They just want the most money possible. Mm-hmm. And they just see these kids as dollar signs. Mm-hmm. If they can keep them, the longer they can keep them in the system, and if they can keep them in the system till they're 18, that's what they're going to do.
Yes. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you. Well, that just made me think of something recently that I come across, and I haven't shared it yet, but I have some saved tabs somewhere. I came across something it was a story about a guy. I think it's his father is bringing it to the light, so I'm sure you may have heard of it. That his son was a victim of rehab trafficking, where they would go around and they would find out who has insurance or whose dads have insurance, and they would convince these guys, and they would have to get them drugged up in order to get accepted into. So he was, picked. And the guy gets him we're going to send you to another rehab that's in.
So he got a scholarship. Correct?
Something like that, I guess. Yeah. And so the night before, to get him, they get him out there to California or wherever. And then, he ODs in order to be drunk or high enough. I think it was a drug.
Yeah, you have to have drugs in your system actively for them to say anything at all. And if you have drugs in your system, then they can easily say that he had a relapse and he needs to. He's incapable of taking care of himself. And so essentially, did they give him a scholarship? That's what it sounds like.
I'm not sure. Like I said, I pulled the tabs out because I thought it sounded like a story that was interesting enough to share to my friends. Yeah. As another human trafficking type experience that's different from sex. You know, I think there's a lot of human trafficking going on. And this sounded like a form of that, finding,
it is.
you know, people that are down in their luck that have insurance, still have parents that have insurance or something like that.
And as long as they have insurance, they can just keep on shuffling them in between these different rehab facilities. And that's what they do to get the most money possible. That's what happened to.
Yeah. The one guy, he was getting a kickback from the rehab for recruiting these people. Right. Yep. Okay. Keep going. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's what happened to Bam Margera, is that he was caught in what they call the Florida Shuffle, and he was being shuffled in and out of these different rehabs. And then every time his scholarship would be up, they would just make an excuse or find an excuse to shuffle him to yet another one. And because he's famous and he has an unlimited amount of money, they were doing stuff on the outside too, like trying to reclaim his house and a bunch of crazy stuff. This is coming from his parents and his family that are supposed to be the people that he can trust. So it's really, really unfortunate. And it can happen really easily to a lot of people. And once you get 5150 from, like, say you get, and this has actually happened to me, right? Because I've attempted suicide before. And when I attempted suicide, I got 5150, and when the cops show up and when you're attempting suicide, they have a choice, right? But they're obligated to take you to a hospital. If they see any evidence that you're actively trying to kill yourself, they have to take you to a hospital, which is called a 5150. And it's an involuntary hold at the hospital. Once you're at the hospital on an involuntary hold, if they want to, they can then shuffle you from there into a rehab. If they feel like you have a drug addiction problems, into a longer term care, congregate care setting, where they would essentially be watching you all the time. You're stuck in a hospital. They can make a recommendation for that, or they can send you sometimes to boarding schools like the ones that I got sent to, directly from these 5150 involuntary hold hospitals, because they have contracts with some of these programs and they have contracts with these rehabs, and they get kickbacks. I'm sure of it. You know, I haven't seen any physical evidence of it, but I'm sure. I mean, why else would they be contracting with these people? Why else would, because money's involved. And
well, I'd love to hear you do that. I think that would be a great stream for you to do, is to do a deep dive into this. That's right there what happened to Bam. And I'll try to find the video I have of this dad that was speaking out, because it's not the same person. I know who Bam is, and I know it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I think that would be something great to add to your channel.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of people that are visiting you are knowing people in these systems, or possibly still stuck in these systems.
Yeah.
So that's great knowledge for family members and stuff, I would think.
Yeah, they can take your child away from you if the right people deem your child to be a danger to themselves. They can actually just take your child from you and then send them wherever.
Yeah.
In a lot of these states. So
that was the same with me. That's how I ended up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a form of trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. You know what I mean? Because you're shuffling people in and out of these places, all over the place. And in a lot of these situations, they don't have rights. They don't have autonomy. They can't speak for themselves. They're deemed incapable of doing so. So I feel like it is a form of trafficking.
Yeah, because if you have the wrong parent involved, or the wrong teacher, or the wrong too bad for you. You were one of the unlucky ones. Goodbye. Because it takes the right parents.
Yeah, you have to have somebody that'll fight for you.
I'm sorry?
You have to have somebody that'll fight for you and that can advocate for you and knows how to do that.
I think it'd be cool too to hear the parents' testimonies of the parents that thought they were doing right. I mean, obviously I've had one or two, maybe three parents on my program, and I'm gonna actually have my mom too is gonna come on the podcast. I've been saving that. I mean, I told her, like, you're gonna probably get some backlash from people because you're just a mother or somebody that sent their kid to the program, but just be ready for that. But I'm also not gonna let people just like attack my mom and be like, her story
but people can have their opinions. People are allowed to have their opinions.
Right. Because it's one thing from a kid to think this is the perspective, but from a parent's perspective, a truly loving parent's perspective, they're being taken advantage of. They're
everybody's being lied to.
And it's just as much as anyone else. They're manipulating a parent to get their kid. What a horrible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then that comes in shame and embarrassment and sadness and anger towards themselves for their own child. And, so I think those would be stories that would be helpful to people going through this as well,
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. We got about 15 more minutes.
Okay.
What other kind of topics can we get into? Have we missed anything? I don't want you to think like every time you come over here, you have to talk about this.
Oh, no.
It's clearly a good topic, but you're welcome to anything.
Have you heard about chronic wasting disease?
This sounds familiar to me. So go. Yes. Let's hear it.
Okay. It's pretty scary. It's a prion disease that is incurable. It has 100% fatality rate. And it is it can be transmitted between deer now. I think it was transmitted to a couple other animals. And the fear is that it can eventually be transmitted to humans.
You mean they're making it in a lab right now, just in case it does transmit to humans, so they'll have a vaccine ready for us.
I wouldn't doubt it. You didn't hear it from me, but I wouldn't doubt it. You know what I mean? Because
I know how they
think about it. I mean, it has 100% fatality rate. It essentially eats it destroys your body from the inside out, is what I understand about it. And okay, as long
you was gonna rag you about your hair.
Yeah, but yeah, it's craziness, and if it passes to humans, it's really
100% good. I have a lot of deer around me. How long does it take before I waste away? What is my time? How long do I have to avoid calling anyone and put up with the pain? How long is it? A day, a week?
I have no idea. I think it happens pretty rapidly. I think it's like maybe a couple months.
I can do it. I've been through worse.
Yeah, we'll find. I'm sure we'll find a vaccine and then force mandate upon everybody. Like we did last time. I'm sure they'll find a fucking loophole to do that again.
Vinny says,
have it.
Huh?
No, I've heard that before. Kid Rock body. Nope, I've had a bunch of people. You don't even know. I have a black coat, black like puffer coat, and no, not puffer coat. It's like a black like fur coat. And every time I wear that, people are like Kid Rock. They literally call me Kid Rock. So
you can't help it. You were just born that way.
I'm just born that way.
I look exactly like this Muppet, believe it or not.
But yeah,
that's a true story too. That's so sad.
I am Kid Rock though, but where's my paycheck? If I'm Kid Rock, where's my paycheck?
You should go to Vegas. I'd be an impersonator. You could get maybe a little cheek job and nose job or something. I'm sure there's work to be done here, but you're close.
Just get recruited for a movie and be like, "Yep, I'm him." Totally.
Okay, so Zen is on. He's keeping us on track. He hears the flesh-eating disease pairs well with the Jack Daniels.
Hey, fuck it.
Whiskey's up.
If you're gonna die anyways, I mean, fuck it, man. Might as well enjoy that shit.
I was listening to Zen. Was it this morning, Zen? Yeah, it was. I found it this morning. I think I just missed it. I thought I had the same dream. Like you talk about dreams, and I have the dream. Do you know what my upper being told me? My upper being, that's my upper me, my ether me.
Okay.
She talks to angels. She said asteroids would be rad. So I've called God myself, and so is she on my behalf, and said if we could do asteroids right in her face, what a rad. So that's I'm so rooting for that. I've got a long chair. Heard somebody, he was reading off a comment. A person says I'm an what were they say? I'm a outsider or something. Not talking about. I'm not going in an underground bunker. I can't remember the funny term he used, but it tickled me. I was like, me too. I am not interested. They're gonna have to drag me. You'll die here. There's a fire coming, a flood, asteroids. That's okay. Mother wants me back.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
I mean, imagine going to heaven and you're walking around and people are, in the intro stages of meeting each other and they're going, how did you die? How did you die? I died in the Titanic. That's pretty rad. I died in the flood with Noah. That's pretty rad. How did you die, Joni? A fucking asteroid hit me in the face.
Yeah. Be like, what are the chances of that?
Sodom and Gomorrah shit. That's how naughty I was.
You're probably more likely to get struck by lightning than that happening.
You don't know. I got powerful friends. The stars. I don't know. I mean, that's just a fun. If I have to pick my way of going, that's the one.
Just get slapped in the face with a fucking asteroid.
Just right there. Just it's coming. Like in the movies. I think there's a scene in a movie somewhere that has, and the guy's like, well, all right, you just grab the lawn chair, sit outside, just wait for it to come. Where are you gonna go? I
mean, if you can't do anything, you can't do anything, and if you're fucked, you're fucked. I mean,
yeah. While hanging out with friends.
I've never understood people that live in Tornado Alley and stuff like that. It's like, I could never do anything you build is just could get taken out at any second. But I guess that could happen anywhere. So, that's people's mindset.
Well, my astrology chart, if you believe in such things, tells me that I have been gifted with dying of natural causes. In other words, no man takes my life. Now, what's really funny about that was that I found that in my astrological chart after I had the thought. So I had this way of knowing, if you know what I'm talking about, where I've had so many human beings, men particularly, try to kill me that not all of them, female as well, tried to kill me, that when I had my come to Jesus moment, your kundalini or whatever you want to call it, your realization, the voice says to me, don't worry, no man takes your life. I brought you into the world and I will take you out, and in a way of loving. And then when I was doing my astrology a few years later, I came across that and I thought, well, isn't that kind of interesting? That was one of those things about astrology that I saw that I thought was interesting, because it was also something that I had myself felt like was a thing, I was promised that no hands are going to ever be around my neck again. You know what I mean? So fair. I think that's rad.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Right. They can't kill me. I'm unkillable. I'm the unsinkable Joni Rotten.
Yeah.
Unsinkable Molly Brown. Survived two shipwrecks. Do you know her story?
Who?
The unsinkable Molly Brown.
I'm not sure.
Oh, who knows about the unsinkable Molly Brown? She was on the Titanic. She was actually on the Lusitania as well, and survived both of them. And so she got that nickname.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's an interesting story to read.
She survived too?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Of course, she's rich. That's why she didn't come from money. I think the story goes, I could be wrong, it's been years, but the story goes that she was a quick money person. So in other words, she wasn't raised in the wealthy life. So she was kind of an outsider within the wealth. She was seen to be obnoxious and these kinds of things. I think Rosie O'Donnell actually played her in the movie Titanic. She is a character in that film. And I can't remember who played her, but I want to say it was Rosie O'Donnell. And that might not be right. I don't think that's right. Who was it that played her anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not good with actresses' names, but Judah recognized her. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Benny wants to know if you're jerking off. Benny, hands-free. He's just jealous.
I do constantly move my leg though, so it does maybe look like that.
Yeah.
I have ADHD. I have tons of energy. I don't know what to say.
Don't say you have ADHD. Just say that you're full of life and it oozes out of you.
I'm full of life and energy.
And sometimes it squeezes out your leg, your knees or something.
Yeah, it blasts out my fingertips.
Okay, so question as we'll wind it down. What hero or character do you, of all of the ones from superheroes to Star Wars to Harry Potter, whatever, movies, I don't know, which story or which character or characters do you identify the most with, that you feel like if you were to write your own character, this would be you?
Probably Venom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Because Venom has like literally, there's a symbiote and then there's the person that the symbiote attaches to, right? So there's the human being and then there's the symbiote, and the symbiote literally acts as like your like another, like it's like your other half. So it's like there's you and then there's a symbiote. So the symbiote will talk to you. It's in your head. It can. That's
my upper me. That's what I call the upper me.
Yeah. So it's like that.
So
I relate a lot to that. Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So it essentially is in your head. It can talk to you. And essentially the symbiote keeps you alive. And it you can, like, I don't know if you've seen Venom or not, but it's a superhero.
I need to.
It's a superhero, and essentially once the symbiote takes over the host, which is the human, then you get like these superpowers, and you can like fire these tendrils and like create pretty much anything with these tendrils. And you're pretty much, the symbiote keeps you alive. It protects you. But it's also your other half. So it's inside of your head. It knows what you're thinking. It knows how you feel, but it can give you advice and stuff like that. So I've always just related to that. So I thought that was awesome.
Cool. I like it. I'm gonna have to check it out now. Is that just that I can just go watch the regular movie, the movie from like 2000s or something?
It's a newer movie. So there's Venom and then there's Venom 2.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find them to watch now. I don't believe I've seen them. I mean, I know the character, but okay, that's cool. Yeah. And so you feel like you're connected to your little man inside there.
Yeah, definitely.
And what superpowers do you have?
I mean, it's essentially like anything you can think of, you can make with these tendrils that you can shoot out of your hands. So you can like.
Yeah, but what can you do? What are your superpowers?
What are my superpowers?
Yeah.
Just really good at listening and just capable of withstanding a bunch of bullshit.
Absolutely. You are good. I would agree with both of those things. You're a great listener. You're easy to talk to. That's why I end up blabbering.
Yeah. But it's good. We have good conversations.
Yeah. Do you have conversations with yourself?
Yeah, I do. I think it's healthy, especially more now. Especially more now. Just saying hello to things. Trying to. It's work, but you got to just do it.
Yeah, you have to practice talking to yourself. I don't think that it's something, I think we're born with this because kids do it. We do it to animals, but for some reason it's as if it's programmed out of us, or it's ironed out of us, and you have to get wet in order to get your wrinkles back. Yeah. You know, you're told that you're crazy if you talk to yourself, or you're, blah, 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 blah. I remember when I did stand-up comedy, I would like hold the cell phone up to my ear when I was driving, because I'd be practicing my sets on the way to the club. And I didn't want people, this is before they had speakers, I didn't want people thinking I was talking to myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm being very animated as well. So I'd just hold a phone and do my whole set.
Yeah, I talk to myself a lot, and I swear, people look down, like they look at you like you're crazy or on drugs when you talk to yourself. And it's the stupidest shit. It's like, do you not like talk to yourself? Like, no. I actively talk to myself. Like, I just do it.
And answer yourself. I disagree with that. Don't answer. You should definitely be answering yourself. I think if you're not answering yourself.
I mean, if the phone's ringing, pick it up.
Right. That's your gut screaming at you. Don't get in the car. Don't go there. Don't do that. Whatever. Say no to this person that's asking you a question.
Just say no. Say no to drugs. Just say no.
Nancy Reagan told me. I remember the just say no. Oh, the after school specials, Jordan, of the 80s. Let me tell you. You know, that's for a whole other stream we could talk about. That I remember when I was in that place, they would show us these. I'm a turd now. I have lots of examples of this in several different places in my life. I do not come. I am strong in my foundation. They would share these after school and movies of these kids, you know, trying to convince us all not to get on drugs. Oh, and not many of us had even done drugs. It wasn't that kind of a rehab. Of
course.
So I said, this is just going to make us all want to be on drugs.
Exactly.
And they stopped playing them. They well, fine then. And all the other kids agreed with me. None of us wanted to watch these stupid things. They were dumb. And so
now you don't get to watch.
No TV. We were like, okay, we'd rather not have the TV, for crying out loud, than to watch a VHS tape of, you know,
propaganda,
LSD trip.
Propaganda. It's all propaganda.
So I was a turd all the way back then, you know, just constantly questioning what was being sold to me.
The status quo.
Yeah. Okay. Answering is the reinforcement of the thought. Exactly.
Don't just let the phone ring, man. Come on. Pick that shit up.
Yes. God bless the goddess of the rotten kingdom. Thanks, Vinny. Thanks, everybody, for coming by.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you. That was awesome.
Yes, Jordan. Okay, we should just plan to do this again. So we'll message.
Yeah, no problem. Just let me know.
We'll come up with other ramblings to talk about. Other things that don't make me want to tell stories about myself. So,
yeah.
Yes. Should we bounce out, everybody? Have you ever bounced out with us, Jordan?
How do we do that?
Okay, you just hang out. You just hang out backstage and watch your screen and bounce with us. And then when the curtains close, you can go on your way. I'll close the stream down. So thank you.
All right.
But yeah, hang tight backstage and we'll bounce out. You'll see what it is.
Okay, cool.
That's fun.
Peace, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Rotten Studios. Remember, no contact is the road to freedom.